Epiphany, a noun. Definition, a usually sudden manifestation or perception of the essential nature or meaning of something. Hello, my name is Jeffrey M. Saltonstall. I am the music director for Grace Lutheran Church, Covina, California. And the epiphany I had is about the song It Came Upon the Midnight Clear. Evangelical Lutheran Worship, hymn 282. It Came Upon the Midnight Clear is a standard for caroling in choirs, and I have been in many caroling groups and many choirs. But typically, how it works is you sing one verse, and then you go on to the next song. Usually, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear to Angels We Have Heard on High, and so on, and so on. This last Sunday, having been the first Sunday in Advent, we did, our typical O Come, O Come Emmanuel, but then we want to make sure, because this year's especially tough, also do some Christmas music for Advent. And while a little easier for weeks 2, 3, and 4, really difficult for week 1. And then finally I came upon, okay, we're just going to do It Came Upon the Midnight Clear. And then as I was writing out the words for the song, for the bulletin that we have, it dawned on me, I have never sung much past verse 2 of this particular song. Or at least I don't recall. And if I did, I was too young to really get it. Because we just sing by rote. Or just sing the words and go on to the next thing. But having written this out and really diving into the words and the meaning, this is a very interesting hymn. Let's talk a little bit about the origin. This song is based on the poem called Angel's Song, written by Edmund H. Sears in 1849. He was a minister in the Unitarian Church at that time. Now, those who know Unitarian churches, they don't necessarily believe in either the Trinity or that Jesus himself is necessarily divine. Now, why do we have that song in our hymnal from that source? Well, Edmund Sears was far more conservative than his church, and he did believe in the divinity of Christ and in the virgin birth and in Christmas. He had been a minister at a church for 7 years in the Unitarian Church, but he had somewhat of a breakdown, and I believe that ended in 1848, and then moved back to his home church after that. During this period of time, he wrote the poem Angel's Song. But also during this time, the United States had been going through a lot of turmoil. Just the year before, in 1848, the Mexican-American War ended. And for those who remember from American history, which I did not, the Mexican-American War was fought between 1846 and 1848, started over the annexation of Texas, and then we ended up with New Mexico, Arizona, California, and just about everything past the Rockies. So that was a huge war. I mean, that is the war that we got the Remember the Alamo thing from. Also during this time, there was, I want to say it was the Police Act. I could be wrong on the name of it, but essentially the other big thing was that laws were passed in the North where police would be set up to basically capture runaway slaves in the North to send them back to the South to the plantations and slave owners. That happened in that period of the mid-1840s. And through that, you have this building tension between the slave states and the free states. States that were expanded through having won the Mexican-American Civil War. Texas was a slave state, and other states were free to become slave states. And so you had that building, that tension building up. Edmund Sears himself believed that slavery was basically the sin of the United States, one of the greatest sins of the United States, and the U.S. would reap the whirlwind very soon because of that sin. And of course, that whirlwind ended up being the Civil War. So needless to say, this is a time of tension for the U.S., a time of tension and mourning, even for this individual, Edmund H. Sears. And I can't help but think of, 2020 and everything that has been going on this year, between the pandemic, between the racial tensions, economic disparity. I mean, there's just a lot of going on this year. And that's what this song really talks about. Weirdly enough, I mean, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear doesn't really talk about Bethlehem. It doesn't talk about the birth of Christ. And so it talks about the angel song. And there are a number of churches, and especially when this first came out, that refused to think of this as an actual Christmas carol or a hymn at all, but rather just a morality song. They have a point to it, but also this is a song where, if you've heard Christmas songs before, you know the Christmas story, you get the meaning of this. And I think this is a very powerful message that this song actually has. So starting, pardon me. So starting with the first verse, we sing. It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to all, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing. It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to all, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay, to hear the angels sing. So the first verse starts on that very first Christmas night. That is the story of the first verse. And that same type of verse will be covered by multiple verses of various other Christmas carols this very season coming up in Advent and the Christmas season. So that is the foundation upon which the rest of the song builds. But it goes on from there. And next week, when we touch this song, and we describe it before, I'll once again go over the history of Sears. And then we look at verse 2, which is where I had the most misunderstanding and where the epiphany really set in. So, thank you for watching, and have a pleasant and safe Advent. Remember, be safe out there, be courteous, be loving, be the light of Christ when all seems dark. Thank you very much. God bless you.